So if a student is going to participate in a fly-in program, whether virtually or on campus, what should they expect in their experience and how should they best prepare for participating in that program? And this is for Carla and Remy.
So if you were going to do an in-person program this year or in a future year, there are a few things I'd encourage you to do. First and foremost, I would encourage you to put yourself out there and really get involved. If someone offers you the chance to do something at an in-person fly-in, I'd really encourage you to say yes. Assuming you're comfortable with it and assuming it's legal, right? I think it can be really easy, right, to be shy because you're young or you're not a student at the campus yet. Get involved, right? Like there's a reason we bring you to campus a lot of the time, right? Especially pre-COVID. We want you to see what it's like to live and exist in our spaces, right? So anytime you get the opportunity to do something with faculty, with staff members, with students, I'd encourage you to do it. I'd encourage you to go beyond admissions hosted events. We'll plan those, right? Like we'll plan a dinner for you. We'll plan, different events or different workshops, different meetings with people. But go beyond those, right? Like you'll get free time at any fly-in program that you go to. Get to know the culture of the campus. Ask questions. It can be so easy to feel shy or to be nervous, to think, oh, is this a dumb question? Like, remember the students that are there were prospective students, right? Before they ended up at our campus. And many of them are so excited to connect with you. So don't shy away from asking the questions that are really important to you. Finally, I'd encourage you to plan ahead in a couple of different ways. First and foremost, I'd encourage you to peruse the college website, right? And maybe make a list of things that you want to check out, right? It's cool to be there and make decisions on a whim, but I'd hate for you to get home and kind of kick yourself and be like, oh, shoot, I wish I would have checked this out. I didn't know this was a thing. Right. So do a little bit of that homework in advance. Also do a little bit of your other homework in advance. Right? So every year when I run the fly-in program, I talk to students who just don't do their homework because they're not going to be in high school for 3 days because they're with us. But then they get back to high school and their stuff's not done. Right? So you don't want to be doing homework on that Friday night when you're on Bowdoin's campus or Caltech's campus or whatever. Take care of it in advance, make the arrangements in advance so that you can take full advantage of the program while you're with us.
Awesome, thank you. So the next question I'm actually going to ask is to you, Juan. So if a student applies to a fly-in program and they're not accepted, should they still consider applying to that college for first-year admissions?
Yeah, and this is a really great question that I'm happy to provide some context around. So when it comes to these different fly-in programs, a lot of them are application-based. And sometimes students may not get the decision that they want to hear from a specific fly-in program and they may feel disheartened. And I would say that absolutely you should not give up on, of considering a college as an option for your overall college search if you're not admitted into their fly-in program. A couple things to keep in mind. I think a lot of colleges will admit that every single year in their college admissions process as they're looking to build a freshman class. They get more competitive applicants than they physically have space for. And for fly-in programs, that is even more true. For fly-in programs, you're limited to how many students are currently on campus, have rooms that are available to be able to host a prospective student. In a Zoom, let's say it's in the virtual space, I think it's 500 ultimately is the biggest you can have for a Zoom meeting. Maybe we're limited to 500 students total that we're able to bring. And so know that there are limits, and just because you aren't admitted into a program doesn't mean that you're not a competitive applicant for that university. Keep in mind that when it comes to these applications for a lot of these fly-in programs, we also understand that a lot of these applications are being put together by students over the course of the summer. So you may be managing a lot of different, family responsibilities, job responsibility and things like that, can also influence what you're able to complete in terms of your application. And the application to the fly-in program isn't the full picture that you will give when you apply to that institution for admissions overall. So those are just a couple of things that sort of provide some context around, if you're not admitted to the fly-in program, these are things that you have to consider so that you don't feel disheartened. And overall, I feel like every institution, I feel I can say confidently, will tell you that not being admitted into their fly-in program is not an indication of admission to that university specifically. I'm sure, on every campus, there are students that weren't admitted into the fly-in program that they were looking to apply to, but were ultimately still admitted to the university. I know of some students at Hopkins that had that experience, and they were still able to learn about Hopkins through other opportunities. So a lot of times what colleges will work to remind you of is, if you're not admitted into, a specific flying program, that's not a college shutting the door and saying that they don't want to continue the conversation with you. That's just saying that at this time, they're not able to offer you a spot in this program specifically for whatever reason it may be. But a lot of colleges will say, we weren't able to admit you into this program, but here are other opportunities that we have for you to be able to engage with our institution, to be able to learn more about our specific schools, to know that there are opportunities. And hopefully that sort of can help you all feel a little reassured as you all are going through the application process for these different programs.
Awesome. Thank you, Juan, for answering that question. This next question is for Remy. If a student is interested in a specific school, but they do not have a flying program, what advice do you have for them to explore those schools?
Really good question. So a couple of things I would recommend. First and foremost, I would recommend you ask the institution what else they have available. Even if we don't have something called a fly-in program, even if we don't publicize that we have funds, many of us have funds to help, right? So if you, especially if like finances are a barrier, right? Like you want to go out and visit a school and you're like, I cannot afford this $200, $300, $400 plane ticket, bus ticket, train ticket, whatever it is, just email and ask. The worst possible outcome is that we say, sorry, we don't have anything for that, right? But a lot of schools are going to be willing to help you. And a lot of schools have the budget built in to help with things like this. Many of us have programs that are not traditional fly-in programs either, but they have funds set aside for students for accepted student events or for travel subsidy programs, right? So just reach out and ask and see what we have. I'd also encourage you to consider local events. Again, making sure you're staying safe during this pandemic that we're all living in right now. Many institutions will host events off-site, right? Because they've got alums living in that area, or they have regional representatives living in different parts of the country or different parts of the world. And they host events on behalf of the institution that are designed to expose you to folks who have gone through this institution, the type of people you might meet, and to talk more, right, about what the school offers, what programs they have, why it might be a great fit for you. The third thing I would mention, and this is going to sound super obvious, check out the virtual offering. So there's a lot more stuff available online. But even if you just set aside 20 minutes every Saturday night or something to kind of check out a college you're interested in, it can really help you get a feel for the place.
Awesome. Thank you, Remy. So the last question that I have is for Carla here. So what advice do you have for students who just might be wondering if college is even an option? So even before thinking about a fly-in program, just wanting to know if college is something for them.
Yeah, so I mean, we definitely understand that all students are in different levels of and places in the college process, and that's completely okay. It's a big decision to make, and this is why we are here to talk to you about the resources about different colleges, different institutions. This is why the coalition does and puts together these types of events, so we can give you more information, so we can talk to you a little bit about the different types of institutions that we're all coming from. And also, these are, of course, some of the reasons why some of our institutions put together these fall programs, right? So these fall programs or fall virtual programs can provide you with a more personalized and more in-depth information about each individual institution that sometimes, you would normally not find online, even through our very great videos that we have posted online. Some of these programs, like, again, I said, will provide you with that personalized information and connections with students. I do think it's very important for students to explore the campuses that they're interested in, or even if you've just briefly thought about applying to a college or just briefly even thought about a college, not even thinking about applying to it, it's really important for you to explore these campuses, especially if you're looking for something specific, or maybe you don't know exactly what you're looking for, and then you'll start learning about what each of our institutions has to offer you. Maybe you think college is not for you, or it's not an option for you right now because you don't have enough information, or maybe you don't think there's a college that will be a great fit for you. However, there is a college for everyone. There's so many different types of colleges out there, and we are here to assist you with that, not just through these programs, but through our individual institutions. So for example, we all have counselors in our offices that are available to answer any of your questions regarding the application process or just in general about our institutions, and definitely taking advantage of that. I can say to you, at Caltech, I am the regional the territory manager for a certain part of the United States, and I'm available to all of my students. There's no dumb, stupid question that you can ask me. I always tell students, please email me. That is why I'm here. That is why I'm working at Caltech. That is why I'm, in this office, to assist you and to give you the most information that I can give you so you can make a better informed decision of, where you're looking at college, or if you considered a college, or if even, you're interested in Caltech. But yeah, and if anyone else, my colleagues, would like to jump in, that would be great.
Okay, awesome. You did such a great job and covered it. So we're going to start taking some questions from the Q&A as well as the ones that were already submitted. So I did want to ask the first question that is coming from the Q&A. And the question is, how many fly-in programs should you attend before you apply to colleges? Should it be as many as you can, or should you reserve it to 1 or 2 colleges? And I am going to let Jackie take that one.
Delightful. This is really up to each individual student. Those of us who have in-person fly-in programs back from 2019 and 2018, I can distinctly recall flying in students in November who had gone on 6 fly-in programs. They had gone on fly-in programs every weekend of their fall semester. And if that's what it takes for you to feel like you have confidence in your decision, then absolutely do that and bring your homework with you for the plane. There are other students to whom they're really thinking about 1 or 2 colleges. They're thinking about maybe going early decision. Maybe they're going through Questbridge. And they really want to sort of solidify their choice before they lock in their college choice for early decision, early action, or regular decision. So you can really, this is really, really student dependent. And also know, as we've alluded to, that there is an application process to fly-in programs. And so just know that however many you apply for may not be the number that you end up going on. So it could be good to try for a couple. But just, this is really, there's no right answer to this. It's the number that you're comfortable with, especially this fall. It's the number of Zoom meetings that you're comfortable going to, or the number of planes that you feel comfortable getting on, and just be in conversation with the people around you and your college counselor in terms of really thoughtfully making a choice to attend fly-in programs, either virtually or in person.
Thanks, Jackie. I have a follow-up question to this one. And the question that is asked is, if you apply to fly-in programs that overlap and get into both, does rejecting one look bad to the other school? What are your thoughts about this specific question?
That is a great question. We know that this happens, right? Like, high school seniors are some of the most overbooked people that we know. And so I think as long as you are thoughtful in letting a college know that you'll be unable to attend, it won't reflect poorly on you. Just let us know, but also know that if you apply to fly-in programs that butt up against each other, right? So like maybe one is Thursday through Saturday, and then one is Sunday through Tuesday, know that those colleges can work together to make sure that you end up going on both if they're both really important to you. The theme of the fly-in game will always be about communication. Be in touch with colleges, ask your questions, be thoughtful about if you have to refuse a spot. We totally understand. A lot of us have deadlines that fall anywhere between a month and 3 months, even before you'll be traveling. And so we understand that things come up, whether you're going on a different college's fly-in or whether you just are no longer able to travel during those dates. So just be really thoughtful about your communication and be really considerate that we're offering these resources, but we understand if you can't take advantage of them at the time.
So the next question that I have for all of you here is, what exactly are you all looking for in an applicant to your fly-in program? And I'll let Remy start.
So here's the thing. Admissions officers are super good at saying it depends. And unfortunately, I think this is one of those times. So first and foremost, academically, we want to make sure you fit with the sort of students who excel at our institutions. We never want to bring a student to campus, get them excited about the place, just to know we're going to slam the door on them later in the process, right? To be clear, attending a fly-in program is not a guarantee of admission later on. But it does mean if you're admitted for a fly-in program, we can see real potential, right, in your academics, among other things, right, depending on what we ask in the application. That being said, all of the institutions represented on this call are phenomenal, right? And just good academics is probably not going to be enough, right, in most cases to get you a spot in a fly-in program or in a freshman class. I think some of us might be looking for fit, right? I sort of use that term in air quotes because I realize that's not a term that everybody loves. I don't even know that I love it. We're looking to see how you would exist on our campus, right? In terms of the symbiotic relationship that can exist between students and the campuses that they're living at. I think we're looking to see how you spend your time, right, outside of class. I think most of us probably ask a little bit more beyond what classes are you taking, what grades did you get, right? Beyond that, sometimes, you know, it really grabs me sometimes if I can sense some enthusiasm from a student. And it doesn't even need to be enthusiasm for my institution. I mean, let's be real, like that's awesome. But, you know, many of us do this work because we come from marginalized backgrounds as well, right? I remember not having a clue what was going on as a first-gen low-income student many years ago, right? And so just hearing the honesty with which students talk sometimes, saying, hey, I'm first-gen, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm really, really eager to get to college, right? And their essays really convey that to me. Like that's a student I want on my campus, right? Or the student who's eager to engage with others on a fly-in program, right? Or the student who says, you know what, Carleton's maybe been on my list, I'm not sure yet, right? But this would be a great chance to explore. Anytime you can incorporate authenticity into any application, fly-in program application, freshman year application, anything, that's gonna be a good thing, right? So I guess, to put this succinctly, what we really want to see is you in a nutshell in the application. But I welcome further thoughts from my my colleagues here.
Yeah, so I can share from Caltech's perspective. Again, you know, each institution is very different. So we're a very STEM-focused institution. So we are definitely looking for a student who is interested in STEM, a student who, you know, has thought about STEM in the past, but possibly for one reason or another has not been able to envision themselves in a STEM-focused institution. So that's who we are looking for when reading our applications, when looking at applicants for this program.
So I'm actually going to jump in really quickly though and ask a follow-up as well, because I know that you all have talked about low income students, and one student wanted to know, are fly-ins for low income students too? And then how do they know if their family is considered low income? And I'll throw that over to Juan.
Yeah, so I would say when it comes to these experiences, again, when it comes to these fly-in programs, a lot of them are application-based. And in these applications, we'll ask you all not only to be able to share information about, you know, the coursework that you're taking in high school, the grades that you're receiving, some of the activities that you are involved in, but a lot of times we either will give you a prompt where we want you to be able to write a short response to an essay, or just give you all a space to be able to share any information that you feel is important for you all to be able to bring to the conversation. And a lot of times that can be, you know, a space where students can sort of disclose something that doesn't necessarily fit nicely into one of the other parts of the fly-in application, that can help us get a sense of, you know, who you are and what you might be looking to get out of these fly-in programs. You know, I think is, you know, sort of socioeconomic status is a really great example where a student may be low income, but there's not necessarily a nice place for that, you know, a place where that fits neatly, but they could mention it in their essay. And so that's context that we can take into the conversation. If a student is, you know, undocumented, I know for a lot of institutions, we may not want students to be able to have to share that as sort of like their citizenship status, but some students may feel comfortable sharing it in an essay to a fly-in program because it is a part of their identity and it's really influenced why they're looking for these programs, what they're looking to get out of these programs. And so I would say that for anything that you feel doesn't necessarily fit neatly into one of those spaces that's providing an application, oftentimes there's going to be some sort of free form space where you all can share anything that you all feel is important for the committee that's looking at applications, or whoever may be looking at applications for that flying program to consider as they're looking at your application to the program.
Thank you, Juan, for answering that last question. This might be more of a fun question. Could each of you or a couple of you share some fun traditions that usually happen during a fly-in program, or fun experiences that students might have in addition to the traditional programming that you might provide when they are doing your program virtually or in person? I am going to have Carla begin.
Yeah, thank you. And again, I will share from the virtual program perspective. So this is our second year hosting a virtual fall program. And, just learning from last year and reading through our surveys and learning what students really appreciated from our program was moderated sessions with our current students. And that was through Zoom meetings, but also through different online platforms. And I think that is a very important part, especially because when you are on campus at these fall flying programs, there are a lot of opportunities for students, for participants to chat with current students on their own and do it in person while no one is watching. And we understand that not all students feel comfortable asking their questions out loud in front of, larger crowds. And we wanted to make sure that we could mirror that online. And we were able to do that again, through those unmoderated spaces for our students. Just reading the feedback from last year's participants, that was one of the things that I was very proud of. And I was really happy to read is that, of course, all these great sessions that we put together, but where students took the most from was those personal connections and those personal conversations with our current students, where no one was watching, no one else was there to listen to those questions.
I can jump in here. So one of the things that typically happens at Taste of Carleton, we reach out to a couple of our different student affinity groups. Our Men of Color group in particular tend to host a spoken word or slam poetry night that always overlaps with our fly-in program. And it's great because we've been able to advertise it in advance. So our students come, our prospective students, and they bring stuff with them, which has been super cool. I didn't realize how popular this was. I think maybe just because I had never been involved with it when I was young. So it's just been really neat. It's a cool way for folks to get involved. And it's an event that is probably the most well attended of any of the events we host during the flying program.
I'm happy to pop in. So for the in-person fly-in program, students will usually travel either 2 hours on Thursday, or they'll have traveled for the past 18 hours to get to Bowdoin. So our fly-in program kicks off pretty late on Thursday night. We kick off at 9 p.m. and we have a welcome meeting with everyone in the room, which is one of the few times over the weekends that we have everyone in the room. But we also have Explore Bowdoin interns who sort of are our student ambassadors for the college, who also just sort of make sure that they serve as making sure that you have that our students have what they need. So after that welcome meeting late on Thursday night, they will usually take our entire cohort of EB students off to the dining hall to participate in a fine Bowdoin tradition called Super Snacks, which is when our dining halls are open from 10 until 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. They're serving grilled cheese, chicken nuggets, carrot sticks for the healthy among us, hot dogs, and the entire cohort will head over to Super Snacks. So in case you weren't tired enough, we make sure that you have some really great college late night meeting students tradition to partake in before you head off, hopefully to bed at a reasonable hour. But that first Super Snacks is really where our students start to meet the incredible Bowdoin community at their best at 11 p.m.
Jackie, nobody's eating carrot sticks at your fly-in program. Don't lie to these kids.
And then talking a little bit about Hopkins's program. So I think one of the most special things, from my experience being able to work with the program when it's been in person, is that we have students that are, coming from all over the country to be a part of this program. And if you all have any idea of what the city of Baltimore and where our campus is, So the airport is on the other side of town. So students have to drive through the entire city of Baltimore. So it gives you all a preview of what you get to explore throughout the time that you are on campus. And so one of the things that we really want to be able to encourage students to do while they're here at Hopkins is be really engaged with the city of Baltimore. And so we will typically have an opportunity for students to be, venture out into the city. In the last couple of years, we've taken students on cruises around the inner harbor to be able to, just see the sights of the city. We've taken students to the National Aquarium. I've worked in taking some of our prospective students that are here for our flying programs to do engineering programs with students at local elementary schools. And so it always looks different from year to year. And a lot of the times I am sort of like the one planning that new experience. And I really enjoy that. But typically, being able to also experience the city is a really important part of our flying program when it is in person, something that we look to recreate in the virtual space as well.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing those fun traditions. I have a question for all of you as well as it relates to flying programs. There were some questions that came in about the travel piece. So 2 questions around the travel piece. What are some travel considerations or options that you all have in place for undocumented students, considering any risks that might be in place? And then also, do you all have any sort of travel programs that include a parent or a guardian, whether that be a fly-in or any other program? And so I will go ahead and throw it over to Carla first, and then we can open it up to others as well.
Yes, so again, we're not having a fall flying program, but we do have admitted student programs every year, just as any other institution. And we do anticipate to have a in-person admitted student program in the spring. So we work with every student individually, not just our office, but as well as our travel agencies. We make sure that we are able to accommodate all students in every possible way that we can. And so we'll talk to you individually. We'll make sure to see, what type of accommodations you need, and then be able to provide that for you. Now for parents, for our spring admitted student program, we haven't decided yet how that's going to work out, but it is in the plans for us to be able to offer that for at least one parent to come with you through the travel grants. So that is something still on, it's still in discussions, but it will be something that will happen. We still are not sure if it will be for one parent or one guardian, or if it will be for 2 parents or guardians.
I think speaking to the undocumented student piece, so to share a little bit about my own experiences. So I am a DACA recipient. So I've had some personal experiences being able to travel across the country. I think when it comes to being undocumented, whether you have DACA or whether you are undocumented without DACA, I think that one thing to consider, and that students should feel comfortable sort of communicating to whoever it may be, is that there are things that you are able to do in that technically it is possible, and there are things that you as a student may not feel comfortable doing. And so without real ID going into effect for a little bit longer, you may be able to travel on a plane using your passport from whatever country you may hold citizenship with, but you may not feel comfortable having to go through an airport, having to go through TSA. And so I think that when it comes to these different opportunities, it's important to be able to communicate, what your status is as you feel comfortable, in the way that you feel comfortable with the university, to see what opportunities they may have for, alternative modes of being able to travel. And so, if you don't necessarily feel comfortable going on a plane, is it possible for them to be able to help pay for your gas or something like that, so that you can have someone drive you to campus, and being able to also feel comfortable saying no to an institution if they are insisting in a certain mode of transportation that's not what you feel comfortable with. Feel comfortable in being able to say no, I don't feel comfortable with that, given my status. And so know that typically universities are going to have the opportunity to be flexible and are going to want to bring you to campus in one way or another. And you should always feel comfortable sort of sharing what you are, how you feel comfortable getting to campus.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I think we are actually going to start wrapping up now here, and just wanted to ask each one of you all to give your top piece of advice right now as we're going into a brand new school year. Some of the students who are on have probably already started and some are getting ready to start. So what's one piece of advice that you would have for students? And it can be a ninth grade student or a rising senior, whichever you feel. And I'll go ahead and let Remy start it.
Cool. So the big piece, especially as I'm thinking about fly-in applications, I really encourage you, make sure you set aside the time to really put a little effort into your essays. Not every fly-in program requires essays, but many of us do, right? We want to hear from you. We want to hear your voice and the way that you talk about your identity or why you want to visit our campus or other things that are important to you. Those are oftentimes, at least in our office, some of the ways that students really sort of rise to the top of a pool, right? Like a lot of the students have really great academics and they're doing really cool stuff outside of class, really meaningful work. But sometimes we can tell students to really kind of rush through the writing portion. And we get it, like it's summer and you're busy humans. But if you can just set aside a little bit of time, it can really catch the attention of your admissions officer, which is almost always a good thing in a process that's selective.
Yep, go ahead, Carla.
Okay, thanks. So I think for my piece of advice that I can share with you, it goes beyond just the fly-in programs. It's just in general, like your college process and where you're at in your college search is take advantage of us, email us, ask us questions. Every institution has our information online. I'm not sure if Derek, you will be sharing our information later on with students who are participating here today. But definitely take advantage of us. We are available. We are there to help you out. If you have any questions about our application for the fall fly-in programs, if you have any questions, or if you want a little bit of, maybe a couple tips for the writing portion of the applications, definitely do that for younger students, 9th, 10th, 11th grade students. It's never too early to start asking questions. So again, definitely take advantage of what we have available online. We do currently have virtual information sessions, but we are also available via email. We're available to meet with you via Zoom, so we can start getting you, prepared for your college application process when that comes.
All right, and what about you, Jackie?
Yeah, I'll hop in. Give yourself room to change your mind. I think that students have a dream college in 9th grade and then a dream college in 10th grade and then 11th and 12th. And I think that students sometimes really want to stick with that and like really want to put one school on a pedestal for as long as you can possibly hold on to. And I think all of us here would say, like, we would love if our school was on the pedestal. But more importantly, we want to make sure that as you learn more about colleges, as you go on fly-in programs, these fly-in programs are designed for you to determine whether or not this is for you. So none of us will be offended if you come on our program, and I'll use my institution as an example. Like if you come to Bowdoin, you're like, you know what? No, like this isn't for me. X, Y, or Z didn't do it for me. That's totally fine. That was why we brought you here. So just know that you should give yourself real room in that process to grow in what you think you want for those next 4 years, because this is for you. This isn't for us. We're going to make our classes. We're going to be okay. We'll have students here for whom this is the right school. But you should give yourself the space to really think about the different things in a school that you're looking for.
And then any piece of advice from you, Juan?
Yeah, so mine isn't necessarily related specifically to fly-in programs, but just has to do with the college application search process in general when it comes to financial aid and affordability. Hopefully for some of you all, we may be introducing our institutions to you all tonight, and you may immediately after the Zoom call go and Google us and look at the sticker price of the sort of tuition of any of our institutions. I will say, don't let any of those prices discourage you all. We didn't get a chance to talk too in depth about financial aid, but we all as coalition partners are committed to affordability when it comes to our financial aid processes. We talked about how we offer a lot of financial assistance for fly-in programs. know that that same commitment to affordability and accessibility extends to many of our financial aid policies. And so to sort of put it simply, the sticker price isn't the price that you're going to have to pay, and there's more research to do on that front as well.